Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Right. So, thank you for joining this virtual summit. My name is Michael. So, thank you for introduction. And today, I'm going to talk about the effectiveness of the automated test cases. Let me just share my screen so everyone just see this. Yeah. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, so let me just go to my presentation first. So here, what I would like just to do, I would like to go with you through some practical examples. So, and as I said to you before, my name is Michael. I'm working with ZappleTech, so I'm actually the founder of ZappleTech, and we are organizing this conference to share the knowledge in test automation fields, because we are providing also the automated testing services and consulting for over the 15 years, and we implemented dozens of the projects, and we see that this knowledge and the tools, approaches, and different um, design patterns that should be shared, and we see that there are a lot of information going around this year and next year. So I hope during this conference you will find out the more information regarding the test automation. Maybe you will apply some new techniques, and maybe you will find out the new insights, right? So during this summit. Okay, so today I'm just would like to talk about the effectiveness, right? The effectiveness of automated task cases through the collaboration, I would say. So because we have implemented a lot of different projects, and we see there's some kind of common patterns that this um, automated test cases, they are not efficient as it should be, right? Because it's not the ownership of the automated test cases is not stand on the team side, right? They just stand on some particular roles or on some particular persons, I would say. So we see that from our practice set that manual and automated test cases are really much differentiated. I would say that some of the companies and the projects, they are following the modern methodologies and modern tools, but majority of the I would say of the companies and the projects, they are following, I would call it the old styled way. So where the automated test cases and the manual, they are pretty much differentiated, so they isolated, they are outdated. So in one word, I would say it's not it's not synchronized, right? So it's not synchronized, so you would need to invest your time in manual testing to synchronize with your automation, and then invest some time to so automated test cases are synchronized with the manual testing, and there are different reasons for this, actually. So for some of the companies, it's reason because they have the dedicated teams. From one side, it should be benefits, but from another side, it's the disadvantages, because the automated test cases, they are just so they're just isolated, so they are not interacting with the business side, so they not interacting with other team members, so or some companies, they don't have the single source of truth, so they try to keep the both information on the manual testing side and automated testing side. So but some of this becoming outdated, and they are just not try to update one of these, or the pretty I would say the pretty popular, I would say, that test automation is not integrated well into processes. But from our side, from our perspective, through our experience, I would say that automated test cases should, and it should be integral part of the QA processes, actually, because so if you don't have this as automated test case as integral part, so it means that it's not part of your daily work flows, and it means that the ownership of this automated test cases just stands on some particular person, and that's all. But it's wrong. So you should be in a position that the whole team should have this ownership of the particular automated test cases, right? So and no matter if it's different, roles. So if you have, for example, non-technical person, they can contribute on the scenarios, on the review, audit, and so on and so forth, so they can look through the test results. So if it's test automation engineers, they can implement the test cases. If it's developers, they can do the review, right, on the architecture and so on and so forth. The product owner and business analyst, so they can look through the scenarios, how it's fully described, or how it's correctly described from a business perspective. So I would say the automation should be integral part, right? So nowadays we see that this integral part, that means that it should be some kind of system. Nowadays it's called the test management system, right? That is the central place where the testing is happening, right? And in most cases, yeah, for some companies, that is small companies, they have just only checklists and so and so on and so forth. Some of the company, they try to be so modern, so they have just only automated test cases only, right? So they don't believe in manual test cases. But in most cases, right, so there are some test management system that tries to manage the whole testing that you have. But we see that there are kind of common problems here. On the market, there are a lot of different test management system, but mainly they are following manual testing first approach, which means that they would like just to create some test plans, test strategy, test plan, then you create in some test cases, then you do some testing, and later on, and someday, right, you are creating the automated test cases. And so due to this approach, they just we see that the automation is not priority for them. Yeah, so they include the automated test cases inside of the test management system, but it's not integrated very well, because they don't have the native support for some test automation frameworks nowadays that we have. Or if you would need to create some, send some messages to, or send some data to the test reports, you would need to do a lot of different customization and integration. If you have the non-technical persons, they are not available to execute your test case and so on and so forth. So we see that it's not a first time I'm saying that nowadays the modern development requires shift left approach, right? So you would need to test as early as possible, and you would need to do the test automation as early as possible, right? So it means that once you have some collaboration regarding the requirements, once you have the requirements, right? So at this point of time, you should think about the test automation, right, in place, where you need to do some actions already towards to create your test automation infrastructure, architecture, implementation, and so on and so forth, right? So we see that the modern test management tools, they are focusing, primarily on creating the test cases, but they should be, so simple enough. Now it's overcomplicated. Not whole team are using the test management system, but it should be done in the way that everyone should use it, so not the perspective from a workflow, but from perspective that the ownership, right? So you would need to add some value to those cases. You would need to add some value when you're checking the results and so on and so forth. Of course, the native support of the test automation is is avoided and so on and so forth, right? So that's why the ownership and understanding of the automation and manual testing just stands on the QA department only, or in some cases, if you have just only automated test cases, it stands just only on the test automation engineers, right? So it in long term, it means that, okay, so there is some unambiguous situation, or if you have some gaps or misunderstandings, so on and so forth. So it's just becoming a big, so long loop, where you just return this information to your team, and team speak to you, right? And then you have some defects, and so forth, right? It's a good example collaboration on the test automation. So it's good stand from comes from agile methodology, right? So there is three amigos meetings where the QA development and business analyst or product owner, I would say. So they should have these meetings where they need to collaborate based on the requirements they would like to implement, what should be tested, right? How fully it should be tested, how then automated test cases should be implemented, and so on and so forth. So each of these roles, they are contributed to this. To this process, and as results you will have, it's called executable specifications, right? So it's a really good example, one of the example, right? So how it may be done. So I just would like to go with you so to understand this by examples, right? Because on the B side they are creating the user stories, so the QA should clarify the concerns and details regarding the scripts of what should cover this user story, right? The developer should implement this. So there are different actions should be done here, where the scenarios should be created, how then should be synchronized with automation, how this automation will be covering this. Once it's covered, how this will be converted to the automated test cases, right? So that the stakeholders or product owner, business owners, so how they will see the results, right? So a different aspects, right? So why the automated test cases is not visible, right? It's not very well integrated. So I just would like to go with you through the test management system that is called Testament.io. That is specific test management system which is designed with test automation first approach and shift left strategies, which mean that you would need to do simple actions just to synchronize your automated test cases. Then you can add the manual test cases, and you can convert the manual test cases into automated one, and everything is visible through the living documentation. Everything is visible, through the results, and everyone has access to this system, no matter its work space for the business analyst or product owner, or for developers, or for QA. Let's go through the practical examples. So this tool supported the different modern frameworks, automated frameworks like Cypress or Cucumber, WebDriver IO, something like this. So or CodeSub.js. So today I'm going to show you some demonstration based on the CodeSub.js test cases and BDD. So as requested, so I don't. It's better, So it's better just to make one demo on the practical examples, not giving you too much slides, right? Okay, so here I do have already the testament. So I have already automated test cases. That is the automated test cases created already, and I do have this on my local box here, right? So that is the automated test cases in place, right? So when you start your project, right? So when you would like to collaborate, so the BA, the developer, and okay, you should have the single workspace where everyone is see the results of the K process. That is the test cases, the manual test cases, and automated test cases. If you have such test cases, it should be easily synchronized, into test management system. So let's just go. I have already prepared some project here, right? That is the empty projects. A few just configuration done inside regarding the continuous integration and jira. I will show you if you would be interested in, right? So and here let's just import the test. It should be, so in modern system it should be just one action, so that you would need to implement. So here in testament you have the special command that you would need just to execute on your repository. This command will introspect all the tests that you have, right? So and that's this test will, hold on a second. Yeah, so it seems like that it's broken somehow, right? So that I cannot read the property file name. Okay, so we have this. Okay, so we have some test cases, right? Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So yeah, so just command executed, one command executed. All the tests and scenarios that we have in the test automation repository is just moved to the test management, you see. So you don't need to do too much actions here. So we just execute this special command created for you. So if you are even newbie and beginner with test automation, you can execute it. And all the automated test cases that you have, it's visible in test management. So it should be done as it is, you see. So it should be done with one click. So I see that the other test management system, you would need to do the different customization for this, right? So but here you just need to execute one command and all your test cases here during this transfer of all your automated test cases. We introspect the whole steps that you have, right, in the test automation, right? For example, here we are following the BDD approach. The test automate supports a classical way of the writing the automated test cases, but I'm showing you the BDD examples, right? So during the transferring of the and synchronizing the automated test cases to the test automate, so we are gathering all the steps, and all the steps now available to you. And when you will create the new feature, let's just make the new feature, which is called manage to do tasks. So something like this. So we will create the new feature, right? So on the QA level, so you would synchronize the automated test cases, and you can create the manual test cases right here. So let's just add one scenario. So I do have already predefined data, so I don't waste your time, right? So let's just describe this feature, right? So this feature, as I will be showing you example based on the to-do MVC application. That is simple application just to create some task, then implement this task, and then you can tick that it's implemented, something like this, right? Here, so we can define some new test cases, right? So that is that they're created in this system. So we will save it. Okay, so we have the new test cases created, and you see you have the single place where the automated test cases and the manual test cases are on the same place. Yeah, so you have from one side, you have the automated test cases, which is synchronized all the time, right? And you have the manual test cases. Once it's done, so let's assume that you would need to have the grooming session or planning session or three amigos sessions, right? So then you would need to add your business analyst into the process, right? But usually they are working with their tools. So usually it's kind of Jira board, right? So and on the Jira board they're creating some requirements or the Confluence, right? So where they are putting some statements regarding the requirements. And we insist usually, so when we do the consulting as a ZappleTech company, so we are insisting that it should be collaborative requirement setting. So it means that if you have this agile methodology, so for example here, let's just create the user story. Okay, the user story that is manage to do tasks, something like this, right? So we'll go inside. Okay, let me just open like this. So I already installed the Testament plugin. So we will have it, the plugin here. I will put the description, right? So you may see what we are describing here, right? So yeah, so now we have the automated and manual test cases in place, right? So let's just add here let's just add here some test cases, right? So on the BA side, usually they are right on three amigos, for example, they already have some predefined user story that is defined. Sometimes it's happened that the people writing these scenarios in real time, right? So then once it's done, right, so then you can link this automated test cases and the manual test cases to the user story, so the BA, QA, and development, so they can work together on the same thing, right? So then here we have on the testament side, I already put some integration capabilities. Is just simple credentials you would need to get from a Jira, right? And then you would need to put here once it's done. So let me just check. We have connection is fine. So then we would need to go, and for example, here we have the manual test cases we covered, right? So then let's just add this test that is covered. So the covered in this user story. So let's just copy this user story, and then we would need to link this to the user story. So it should be simple as just one click, right? So once it's done, so let's just go here and we see that, okay, so QA can link the test cases, the manual test cases to the user story, right? If the test automation engineer or the test automation team, they do have some test cases which is already in place, they can also attach some already automated test case to this user story. So we understand that your user story is covered by some manual test cases or by some automated test cases, right? Hold on a second, yeah. So it should be there in a second, right? Once we have this, right? So we have the different capabilities how we can manage these test cases. So usually, if we're talking about the Jira methodologies and BDD or three amigos or something like this, right? So that means that the product owners, business analysts, they are working primarily in their environment. They don't want to go to some test management system and do some work there. So they just work with these entities, right? Here, the test mat provide these capabilities, and the modern test management system should provide this kind of two-way synchronization. For example, here, so we have the test case here, right? So create a new task. We should go here and see that, okay, we see the internals of this scenario. So even more, so they should have the capabilities, right, to add some extra steps, right? So to be tested, something like this, right? So it can be done here. Once it's saved, so business analysts or product owners can contribute to the manual test cases. Once it's done, it should appear here. Let's just go and we see that, okay, we have some extra steps. And if we are talking about the collaboration from the QA to the BA, for example, right? So we can add some also steps here that I see that some placeholder is completed, something like this. We will add some extra steps, and it should go and immediately, yeah. So save it, right? So and then here we should go to this manual test case, and these results should be there, So yeah, so this step is done. So you see that the QA and BA, so they can collaborate on the manual test cases. So they are working in a different environment, in a different workplaces, So but they, in effect, the result that the manual test cases is synchronized, right? So even more, right, here we have the not manual but automated also the test cases, right? So the QA, if they are making the automated test cases, right, so they can link, and you have on one bucket you have this all the assets that is related to this user story. So even more, for example, if you would like just to go and add it, for example, we have this whole the user story, right? So or the feature file, it's called. Let's go with here. We can create the business analyst can create from a straight from the Jira perspective. They should and have this capability just to create some test cases, right? So if they see that something is missing here, so then they should have this capability just to create a new script, right? So it's just edit some task. So we'll save it. Okay, go to this particular feature file, right? And this feature file, we will save it. It's added here, and automatically, let's go and see that we have it here. You see, so this test case is added from a Jira perspective, but it's immediately should appear in a test management system. You see, so it's cool. Now you have this kind of capabilities. So TestMat provides a lot of different advanced features. For example, if we already have some test cases already created here on the TestMat side. So then you can go to the edit stage, right? And then we can add two more test cases, right? If the feature file is linked to to the user story, right? So on the user story side, so all appeared newly created test cases, they appeared here. So now we have our test cases. Let's just go and execute a few test cases, right? So because it's not about only about the designing your test cases and synchronizing, but also about the execution, right? So on the execution side, also on the continuous integration, I have already added here the GitHub. On the GitHub, there is also this some small configuration done to execute these automated test cases, right? So I put already this configuration in place. So it's just 2 minutes to configure from a user perspective. And once it's done, we have the automated test cases, and we, as a non-technical persons, we can just have this executable. So you just go to execution, to the run, you choose that you would like to execute this in continuous integration, you choose that you would like to run all the automated test cases, and you will just need to launch it. And that's all. You see non-technical person, so they can navigate through the user interface and click some buttons, so you can execute all the automated test cases, right? So, or they can execute them, the manual test cases, right here. Let me just check it. Okay, fine. So it's just started to execute, right? So meanwhile it's executed, right? So I will execute our manual test cases that we have. For example, here we will have some 3 or 5 test cases, so we just need to go through, right? So that is finished, right? So that is the results. We can look through, right? So we can filter these results and check the details if we have such, right? So here, and yeah, so we can execute also. Let me just show one more interesting functionality here. So if you have, for example, mobile testing or cross-browser testing, right? So you can execute, for example, the same sets of the test cases on a different environment. Let me launch it all. It means that the same sets of the test, but executed 3 times on the 3 different environments. So on Windows, macOS, and Linux. And if you have in front of you, or if you have the mobile devices, for example, iOS or Android, you can execute it one by one, something like this, right? So, and then you will have these results. So here, let me just also execute a bit more results. So you can execute on local box. So also we provide this capability, easily just execute one line. So I just would like to have more data, so you can look through the later on through the analytics and the reporting. So it started executing. Testament provide these advanced capabilities to see the results, even intermediate results, without waiting until the end, right? So we see that, okay, automated test cases are executed and it's immediately available here. Everyone who has access to Testament can look through the stack trace, exception. We can see here the video recording and a screenshots here. So we have these capabilities, right? And once all the test cases are executed, let's go back to the business analysts and product owners or stakeholders, right? So here they can check that the latest execution results, right? So then everyone is on the same page, you see. So all the test cases are linked here. So the BA, from their perspective, they see that, okay, they do have some requirements stated, right? So that is composed to some manual and automated test cases. So you see that some of these tests are failed, some of these are not, right? So then if you are wondering what exactly is checked in this manual test case or automated one, right, you can go inside and check. You see the results, right? So if you are the automation engineer, you can go to the results of the execution uh, on GitHub, or you can go inside. You can go inside to the report, right, and then you can filter the results, right. You can check through the different technical, I would say, information here regarding the collaboration, right. Yeah, here a lot of information can be stored, so kind of attachments. So there is branches, a lot of functionality inside of this, right. Also, what I would like to just to show you, so it's really cool features of as non-technical person, how they can be how they can collaborate and add some value to the process, right? So for example, that the first one is as if you have some test automation in place, so it's configured. So from test automation engineer perspective, they implement the test cases, they are synchronized to the test mat, right? So then that's done to the test management. Everyone is synchronized then. Then it goes to the business analyst, and business analyst here, he is looking through the examples and see if it's fully covered by the business requirements or no, right? Once it's done, right, so here the let's assume the situation that, for example, the application is changed, right? Then we go to some scenario, and some non-technical person can add some extra step that, for example, some of part of your application is changed and scenario should be changed, and the implementation of test automation should be changed appropriately, right? So it means that we will save it, and the test mat will show you that, for example, this test case is out of sync. That means that the QA just made some changes and go to some exploratory tests, and from test automation point of view, someone should go and check, okay, that is the out of the sync. Why it's out of the sync? So we just go and compare, okay, some extra step is added, so he's going and going to add this step and synchronize this test again with testmat. Or for example here, so at least they can create the non-technical person, they can create some dummy test cases or some templates in test automation repository to help the test automation engineers to implement it. So here we can take this specific user story or scenario, right? So we will go to this feature that is the test automation code, right? So on the BD side, we will save it, right? And then we will synchronize it once more, right? Let me just check it. Yeah. And this particular test case should become the, now it's as automated one, right? So this one, it was the manual one, right? Now it becoming the automated one. It's just done by I would say by magic right here. So that once its synchronization is done, there is inside of it, there is a magic inside, right? So which is identifying what exactly was automated. And once it's synchronized, we see that, okay, the manual test cases, now it's automated. And we see that, okay, on the Jira side also, once we will refresh it, so here is also should be automated one, so that the QA can contribute on the scenario level, so they can execute the result. For example, they don't need to ask some person to execute test cases, or even more, they can re-execute just only failed test cases, right, without any extra, I don't know, so extra action or extra configuration here. So the BA, they will work with the user stories, and they work with the coverage of the manual and automated test cases, right? So on them, then on the later side, so if they would like just to have this living documentation, for example, here we can enable the living documentation. Usually it's used on agile workflows, right? So you have just one public space where all the test cases are described, right? So then you can look through, and it's available to everyone who is interested in results, right? So results and the descriptions. So once you have this planning or grooming session, you can look through the living documentation. Living documentation means it's updated all the time when you have the automated test cases or manual test cases updated, created, or deleted, right? So it's already up to date. So you can check the latest results, or if you would like to see the details. So if you will have the screenshots, you will have the screenshots, something like this, right? So there are a lot of different features in this system. So here I would say that how it should look like, right? So we understand that the automated testing should be, as I showed you on example, should be integral part of the QA process. I just would like to give you this example so you can compare with your existing setup how your automated test cases is synchronized with the manual, how the test management is having this good, really native integrated features, right? So how the different persons and roles can be interacted based on the test management system. So then each of these roles contribute the extra values to the common processes. Right. So and also as I showed you here on the slide, so I pretty much sure that the ownership of the automated testing, so they should stand on a team level, right? So everyone should have ownership of the automated testing on a different level, of course, right? So non-technical person can do some small job, right? So not sophisticated. The implementation, of course, should be done by QA, but business and product owners, so they also can be involved in these processes, right? So, and if it's done correctly, so the one system will help you to boost your QA performance and QA efficiency, I would say. Right. If you would like to learn more about the Testament, that is the links. Just go to Testament and sign up. You will have a free projects, free plans, so you can go and play around. If you would like to check this tool that may work for your project, you can schedule the demo and check the documentation. A lot of information there, right? So just go and check it. And I guess that's all that I would like just to say here. So I'm done. Right. Let's go and check that we have some questions. I know, right? Right. So here, what is our plan here? So Jenna, will you?
Hi. Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah. Okay.
So I love that you have traceability between the test and the stories. So that's really visible. Can you kind of elaborate on how we can use something like that to help us with decision making and
Mhm.
risk analysis? I know it's a little old school to be so under traceability. And even though I'm an agilist, I love traceability. So I was curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, it's really good question, because so decision making is stand on the management side, right? So when you do a lot of different sprint testing or any other automation execution, so the manager should see the on kind of on the high level all the different levels of the traceability. I can show you. So my screen is hidden, so just I need to show my screen again to show you the analytics right here. Yeah. So we have a lot of different analytics here. For example, the coverage. For example, that is something is covered or no, right? If you have some defects, we are clustering these defects by So if you have, for example, 100 test cases failed, and then you understand just only 3 root causes for these failures, so we will cluster these defects, so you understand it's critical or no, and how this particular defect or failures impact all other test cases, right? So then we can check some, for example, on jira side, we do have the coverage by the user story, right? So you have the list of the user story. For each of this user story, we are showing you, okay, so what test cases are covered here, what manual, what automated, right? And what is the statuses. So there are kind of different levels of the analytics and reporting the Testament provides, right? That can give you some background here just to make the proper decision, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I really, really value traceability. So I'm always excited when a tool has the right infrastructure to make that happen. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, but it was awesome getting to hear your talk and seeing the demo of that tool because I haven't seen that before. So super, super cool.
Thank you.